We are at a turning point, aren't we? We really truly are. This is your best friend Justin from J Master Productions, and welcome. Just wanted to speak to you guys real quick about a couple of different things, kind of though involving AI and where we're headed, the future of how social media is going to work, because we all know that in the end of the day, we could hope and pray all we want that we're always going to have free speech and censorship, but that's clearly not the case because little by little, year after year, there's certain things you can and can't say. There's algorithms, especially now with artificial intelligence, that bury certain people who give truthful, insightful, and intelligent information that can actually benefit humanity. But instead, we have filth. That's everything that's pushed out. And of course, there's generational differences of what people are into and what people are looking at. And there's even deeper statistics behind, maybe gender, maybe even skin color, stuff like that. But it all depends on your interest, right? The algorithm knows how you, in particular, think and what you're into because it knows your phone, all these consolidated applications that work hand in hand with the major corporations that have all our information, they know us better than we know ourselves. That's why you might watch a YouTube video of something, and it might be just something for pleasure, it might be entertainment. Then all of a sudden, your feed on TikTok and Instagram is filled with that same type of content, right? The algorithms right now have done a very good job of pushing certain people out and keeping leaving certain people in the dust. And I'm obviously one of those people. You can look at all my social media platforms. I barely have a following at all. You could see that someone like me, who I'm not asking you for donations, I'm not asking you to sign up for anything. I'm simply just here preaching what I know to be true because not enough people do it. It's simple as that. And I have a moral responsibility because I do know what I know to be talking about these things and at least informing people about it. I'm not asking you to believe me, but you should definitely look into everything that I'm talking about. You shouldn't just hear what I say and believe it. Maybe some of you are already familiar with the concepts I talk about. But we have all these movies, right, that are constantly portraying robots and artificial intelligence or even just computers taking over somehow, some way. Obviously, the narratives are different in each one, but the concept is the same. That we created these devices, and all of a sudden now they've become smarter than us and more powerful than us, and they're talking to each other, the machines, and creating their own language and creating their own system of government, maybe, and way of taking over humanity. Right? We've seen the movies, we know all about it, and it's getting people ready. It's letting you know a little bit of what's coming because it might not exactly play out that way, the way it's portrayed in movies, but it's planting the idea that these things can happen. That there's gonna be advanced computers to come, and people are just gonna be ready to accept it because they've seen it before and they've seen it through entertainment. It's not that they've been warned about the dangers of it; they see it through entertainment, so they think the dangers of it is just science fiction. The truth is stranger than reality, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? I was having a conversation on Instagram because I'm in a chat with a couple different people. This one chat in particular, because a lot of truth is becoming mainstream, and a lot of what's been shared in the chat is stuff about Obama and Michael Obama, I should say, Michael Robinson, I should really say, but about Michelle being transgender, right, and all that stuff. And it's funny how on X and now on Instagram, because Instagram, excuse me, Instagram is now showing you truth. I mean, I'm not getting censored at all, really, on Instagram at all. If any app right now I get the most censored on, it's TikTok, but that's meaningless anyway because it's just it's filthy people on there. But shouldn't say filthy people, but it's just very ignorant people. Let's put it that way. But Instagram, especially this year, and when Trump was gaining a lot of heat before he became president, I noticed that Instagram was allowing, and all of a sudden, videos of truth were popping up the same way, kind of on X. Now X, of course, is more extreme with it, and you see. It's more intelligent conversations on there, but even stuff with dating on Instagram, I've noticed a huge awakening with men being like, "Oh, with the feminist the feminism movement. How I could see how red pill somehow some way has gotten uh, through to these guys because there seems to be an awakening of how men, especially young men now, have been put in such a weak position compared to women. And it's because of social media, right? And of course, it goes deeper than that. But just to tell you to say, all right, well, why is dating so hard and so bad? What's wrong with my generation and especially younger? It all has to do with social media. How that's completely changed the way that we socialize and interact with each other and view each other, right? But there's all these stats that come up on dating, and you see like a lot of men that have woken up, but you see they follow a lot of hypermasculine ideologies, of course, because red pills really started to get big. I'd say the past 10 years. It started with those YouTubers, right? MGTOW was even before that. I know that's been around for a long time, but I really feel like in maybe 2017, 2018, around that era, like the YouTubers, right, like Alpha Male Strategies, Darius M, 33 Secrets, if those guys are still around, those guys really started to get big because men were just waking up from their own experiences, right? Like we were all getting older, having bad experiences with women, and this is what was getting put in front of us when you search up like dating advice on the internet and whatnot. So, and then it really translated then in 2020 to like Andrew Tate, and then and then now it's just become political. Now there's all these political influencers who somehow who kind of tie red pill ideologies into their occult and their beliefs and their following, whatever it might be. But a lot of it is stemming from MAGA, right, taking over. A lot of what's gone on with the truth community, how it's really changed the past 4 years, I would say, because just 4 years ago, truth was a lot different. 3 years ago, the truth community, I should say, was a lot different the way it is, the way it was presented to people. And now because it's been infiltrated by MAGA in particular, that occult, different branches of it, whatever, QAnon. So the whole truth movement has been hijacked because it put their faith in a lot of stuff involving Trump, thinking Trump might just be a savior, putting some sort of hope into anyone but themselves, and trying to actually make a change within themselves, right? People just want to always outsource their responsibilities to someone else, whether that be a politician, a figurehead in religion. And we need to stop doing that because clearly hoping and praying doesn't do anything. We have to do something, otherwise things are going to get worse with technology, with the way things going are now. Um, but anyway, I didn't mean to get sidetracked. But what I was trying to say is that the truth community looks a lot different now, and it is a lot different now, especially with algorithms and AI. Because there's certain things that get pushed. Anyone that's starting to ask questions that might finally be able to see a little bit past politics is going to fall down a Nick Fuentes or Jake Shields rabbit hole. Maybe even Myron Gaines. Those surface level people, Candace Owens. Um, the whole 9 yards with the semi influencers, whatever I used to call them. I used to have a name for them. I think it's something along the lines of semi influencers, but those five that I mentioned are playing a big role in the so-called truth movement because a lot of people who might have fell down the MAGA rabbit hole and are seeing what Trump is doing because he makes it really obvious who he works for and it's not for the people. They come across characters like them. And there's probably others that I'm unaware of. Maybe even Ian Carroll, or who's the famous guy, Russell Brand, that talks about conspiracies. So what we have going on now is Trump is getting his surface level occult on board with technocracy because they wouldn't. People who lean on the red team or are on the red team would never want these things if Biden was president, but because Trump's doing it, they're completely fine with it. So I've talked about that. I don't want to get into that, how there's been a complete red shift and how the reason why Trump is president. But when it comes to the AI, right, what I was going to say too about on Instagram, I'm in a group chat and there was all this stuff about, right, Michelle being transgender, and we got into a conversation, me and the guys that were in the chat, and I was telling them, because I've seen a ton of videos, of course. This is actually a video from BitChute right here, Shaking My Head Productions. I can leave the link to his channel on BitChute. This guy has a really good channel if you want to watch it from more of a, I guess you could say, entertainment aspect. because he puts a ton of just clips together, movie clips. I don't even think this guy ever shows himself or has said a word really, but he puts all these clips together, um, and it all ties together. But anyway, I was saying how these presidents like Trump and especially Biden, because it's really obvious with Joe Biden that these guys are just blobs, whether it be a person wearing some sort of advanced cosmetics with skin tight mask or a bodysuit, or it's just a robot AI. Because we all know, if you know, you know that when these politicians or whoever film these things acting as if they're in the White House, they're not really there. They're probably underground at one of their deep bases, military bases, actually filming it. They probably got tons of studios down there, wherever it might be, in the U.S. or on an island or in another country. It's not a conspiracy that there's all these underground bunkers of the rich, of military, and where the public doesn't know what goes on, and we're not allowed down there, of course. But obviously to them that sounded a little crazy. The people that in this chat, just to give you some context, they're open to hearing about these things, but they're not as awake as I am. And it's not to say I'm smarter or anything or better than them. It's just that's just what it is. So I was saying, yeah, I've seen videos, ton of speculation, and I'm no expert in this at all. So I can't say I know for sure. Maybe it really is Joe Biden. But if you look at pictures of Joe Biden from like 2012 to 2020, I mean, he looks completely different. We've all seen, not just with Biden, but all these politicians where there's weird stuff with their ears look off, or they have the reptilian eye, or it looks what looks to be like their skin is breaking apart, and you see like what looks to might maybe be lizard skin or even robot material, right? Just like robotics. It just you guys know what I'm talking about. You've probably seen a ton of it, even with celebrities as well. How you see these glitches with them, and a lot of Christians will say that's them showing you who they really are. Excuse me. Christians allude that these are demons, fallen angels, devils that are showing us who they are, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's true. I think it's partially true. I think these people do worship evil deities from other dimensions or maybe other worlds, wherever. And of course, they work with people in Hollywood and politics and all the influencers around the world, and people who work in major corporations and run them. And it's hard for people to believe, but you got to look at it for what it is. Look at how Biden was. It was all deliberate to kind of like what I said earlier, how there was a red shift because Biden was such a babbling buffoon. It was on purpose. So they made him look like such an idiot that people were just begging for some logicality to come back into office because people were genuinely worried. We clearly see there's a ton of issues with our economy and how we're all just being priced out. There's a ton of issues socially, how people aren't being friends, getting married, having kids. People are depressed than ever, more depressed than ever before. People aren't working as much. People aren't motivated to work as much. People don't want to try even. And there's reasons for it. It's all by design. They've made us this way. The system was meant to fail us, to collapse. It was never meant to actually help the people and be good for the people. But anyway, I know I diverse a lot, but what I just wanted to say with what when Biden was president, and even with Trump, how these guys are just blobs of whatever, clones, maybe just actors playing as them, again, with the skin tight suits, the cosmetics, or if they're just robots in general, or maybe they're just completely AI when we see them talking digitally, and they just got blob suits of them that the public sees. Because again, Biden was being such an idiot. He was falling all over the place. There was times where he seemed completely healthy, times where he looked like he didn't know what day it was, and where he's falling over, falling downstairs and whatnot. And again, it's all by design. It's not because the Democrats are incompetent or because the Democrats are evil and they're the ones creating the new world order. Because that's what's going on. It's the truth movement has branched off, especially when Trump became president, to people thinking that we won and the new world order was really just the Democrats and all these things. But it's just to distract people, and it's amazing. It's really incredible to me that people would even fall for that, honestly. But people do. Am I surprised? No. But there's plenty of people who are in the MAGA cult or lean red and think that all the evilness just comes from Democrats and that it's all them. and that we just have to always have Republican in office here and there, or whatever, local government, state government, federal government, and the problems are going to go away. But clearly, these people always exacerbate whatever issues are at hand, whatever political party comes in, and it's convenient because they just blame the one that was in before, and the political party that was in before blames the one that's in now. So it's a never-ending battle of really which tastes better, Coke or Pepsi. But really, in the end of the day, they're both cola. So until people can grow up and realize that, things are just going to always get worse. In regards to AI and the algorithms, we saw what Trump just did. I think it was yesterday, where he signed something about digital IDs for the internet, and I think the excuse is it's for minors, right? They're going to say that. Well, we just want to make sure that 13-year-olds not on the internet. They might be looking up inappropriate stuff or watching bad influences, which of course could be true. But the solution to that is simply educate our youth. But who's educating our youth? It's these same people that poison us every day, the same people that feed us propaganda through the media, the same people that own the Federal Reserve and our politicians. So, again, we got to be able to see the bigger picture here. But the whole point of a digital ID is to create some sort of, I guess they would call it a digital footprint, or I don't know what the term is. Maybe it's a digital twin. So whatever you do on the internet, you're going to be modified. Everything you say on the internet, everything you do on the internet, or probably in your life, because again, the smartphone is going to be in us one day, somehow, some way, because of advanced technology. They already have it. They're just waiting to roll it out for the right time. If you start saying something bad about Big Brother, if you start saying things bad about your lovely government, if you start saying things they don't want you to say, if you start going against certain narratives or questioning certain narratives, you might be deemed a thought criminal, and you're going to be looked at as suspicious. You might get your bank. You might be deemed as a domestic terrorist, and they might lock up your bank account. They'll make it so you can't get food, water. I mean, they're going to make it this way. You're not going to be able to have freedom of thought or freedom of speech. You might have officers showing up at your door, depending on the circumstances, and throwing you in jail just for questioning your government. And we're headed that way. It's rapidly happening because people don't care. And with AI, of course, with the algorithms that's feeding people, it's feeding people junk nonstop. It's feeding people propaganda or just filth. So people are either just completely deceived and following and caring about the wrong things, or they just don't care and they're just going to follow the crowd. And I would say most people are the latter. So I think I said enough in this video. I've gone like almost 20 minutes here. It's crazy how fast time goes, but this is your best friend, Justin. Let me know what you guys think. Please like, share, and subscribe. And